imagine a conscious contact with God so strong that no matter what you are doing or not doing, that no matter what your kids are up to or not up to, and that whether you've got the person of your dreams or they're just not cooperating, that you are happy, content, and at peace. A space where everyone else's thoughts, attitudes, and actions are beautiful and exactly as they are supposed to be. Well, this is the space where I like to play. My name is Mischa Z, and this is today's Bitch Slap. Join me as I shed light on the thoughts, actions, and attitudes that are causing you pain, and we train our minds to go to the capital S inner self, the joy that is waiting for us, the God within. Recording and walking with my Shure MV88. I just listened to a Russell Brunson podcast, to his Russell Brunson Marketing Secrets podcast. And one thing I noticed about Russell Brunson, he's really good at staying on point with his episodes. And he obviously has great content. He's very successful at what he does with tons of experience. So I very much enjoy his staying on point. And I realized, I can veer off a lot. Veer off of my point, and I love that. And I can have multiple points going at the same time, and I love that. Perhaps one day all my episodes will be, or most of them will be, one specific point. But as it is, some of my episodes are good at that, and some are good at multiple trains of thought. This is going to be a multiple train of thought episode. The next thing about his podcast today was he showed some great vulnerability, talking about how he had a failed webinar. So he does webinars and drives purchases and things like that. And generally speaking, we hear about lots of success. He paints the picture of lots of success, which is awesome. He does have lots of success. But today, he said how he had, him and his company, ClickFunnels, had invested multiple 8 figures in a company, in another company, to acquire their list, and then so they could market to this list. And he was doing a webinar to that list, and 8,000 people jumped on the webinar or something, and he flamed out in a massive way. And he was talking about it, and he was also talking about, at the end, he said, hey, a lot of us successful folks talk about the wound versus the scar, and how in a perfect world you only talk about those things that have scarred over, so they're not raw wounds. And he was laughing and having fun, and he was clearly in a state of frustration, talking about the current wound of his failed webinar. And which is really cool, because it gives me a little permission to talk about some of the woundy things that I talk about. And I don't know if I want to say makes it okay, but it does happen, and it can be refreshing to hear about real-time frustration from someone who's super successful. And he further talked about how some failures that led to successes. He had to launch ClickFunnels 5 times, and then on the 6th time it finally took hold. And he was talking about how he did this. It was called 10X, this 10X sales conference, and he did his presentation, and he made $3 million. This was a live concert, or not it was a live presentation in front of 10,000 people, or some such thing, and it was so successful, his pitch, that he made $3 million, sold $3 million worth of product. And so the next year he goes to do it again, and there's a documentary about the whole thing, which now I have to watch. But he brings along a documentary crew, and I get under the guise of this thing is going to be super successful. There's 30,000 people at the event this time versus 10,000 last time. So they're thinking they're going to make tens of millions of dollars, or he says billions of dollars. And of course, he totally flamed out. So he put out the documentary that shows him flaming out, shows this whole process. Now I have to find it. And you can listen to the Russell Brunson Marketing Secrets podcast, and it's like, my webinar failed. That's something like that, the title of his episode. And you can track down this documentary of him imploding on a webinar, or on a big sales presentation in front of 30,000 people, or not having the success he wanted. So it's kind of refreshing. He was just talking a lot about how he's a performer in effect, and sales is his performance, right? He's performing to sell his very effective product. And it was kind of two things I felt after the podcast episode. The first one was, thank God he's human, right? Thank God Russell Brunson is human. And then the second thing I thought was, oh no, there's no golden goose out there that ensures success, quote unquote success, in everything we do. Like, as a fledgling entrepreneur, I'm gonna get ready to fail. There's gonna be failures. So that was I was like, oh my gosh. So it was disheartening for a moment. But of course, as I like to say, come back to the moment, do the next indicated step, and continue on. It's funny, I managed to stay on point about somebody else's podcast episode being my topic. So yeah, that's it. Russell Brunson had a failure, and it provided me hope that we don't have to be superhuman, but then also, oh no, we don't become superhuman. Oh gosh. That's it. I'm right at 8 minutes. I'm going to call it good. Have a fine day. Thank you for spending time with me today. As someone who is committed to growth and service to this world, I so appreciate your willingness to come with me, go within, and serve our world through change. If you found value in this podcast and you know someone who can use this message, share this episode with them. Share it so our mission can be achieved one episode at a time. And of course, subscribe so you can hear more. And lastly, for more resources on what has helped me on my journey and can help you on yours, go to belove.media/resources. That's BELOVE.media/resources. Thank you again for listening.